There is one thing about God that these people, I'm talking about the reprobates, don't want to deal with. Some people think that the reprobate can't stand God because he's a God. Okay, but there's one specific thing about God that they really can't stand. There is one specific thing that makes their blood boil. There is one thing about God that makes the reprobate explode in rage. There's one thing that makes them unable to sleep at night about God. And that is that God is always in a joyful mood all the time. God's mood is joyful. And God's joy is so great, so intense, that it scares the reprobate. Because the reprobate is in a state of negativity all the time. So they want a negative climate for them to be at ease. But God is in a state of absolute joy. So because they are in a negative state of mind, they can't stand people with a good mood. Did you ever enter a place you were in a good mood, and for some weird reason someone took offense at you, and they began to accuse you? What was going on? They were in a state of negativity, and they wanted relief. To get relief, they have to control you. And to get a grip on you, they accuse you. They attack you, they violate and victimize you to get a hold on you. That's how reprobates do it. However, they can't do this with the Most High, because He's God. They can't control God. They can't get the grip on God. They can't change God's mood. Look, this whole image of the Most High as this angry, narcissistic monster that's about to lash out anytime against you. When He is upset, that image doesn't come from Scripture. That image is demonic. That's how Satan is. But reprobates project their own reprobation onto God and pretend as if they are victimized by God. That's why you have all those terrible descriptions of the lake of fire that they portray in media and in literature. Even though Scripture is clear about what the lake of fire is, it's clear that it's a manifestation of the rage of the reprobate, in which they are trapped for all eternity. But even now, the reprobate cling onto this addiction to victimization. The reprobate is a self-victimizing addict. They are addicted to being the victim. Why? Because they don't want to face reality. They don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to be accountable for anything. But reality itself shows you that you need to take responsibility, or else you're not safe. Not wanting to take responsibility is self-destructive. So reality goes against the self-contradiction of the reprobate, and they can't stand this. To cope with this, they perceive themselves as the victim of reality. So everyone that's real is now a perpetrator, and God Himself becomes their chief enemy. This is how it goes. The reprobate is in a state of self-destruction that they don't want to escape from. They want to escape the consequences of their self-destruction, but they don't want to fulfill self-destruction because they're comfortable playing the victim. So anytime you are in a good state of mind, anytime you have life in abundance, anytime you have good quality, they want to victimize it. Why? Because they want everyone else in their misery for them to be relieved. And the only entity in the whole universe and whole heaven and earth that they can never trick into their negativity is God Himself. It's not possible. God is always in a good mood. God is always in a joyful, excited mood, and He will enforce this joyful and exciting mood on the whole earth. when Christ returns. Because the earth is God's property and he will enforce his joy on the earth. And all those that are saved will participate in his joy. Believers right now, when they walk by faith, they participate in God's joy. That's why the reprobate hates believers. That's why the world, in general, who holds on to darkness, is against believers, true believers. So that's the reason God is hated by the reprobate. And that's why the world in general, who doesn't want to face anything, prefer to be abused by child molesters, corrupt politicians, warlocks, gangsters, drug dealers, all of that. They prefer that because at least they can discard those people when they have enough. But you can never discard the Most High. You can't. It would be the same as going to Mount Everest and punch Mount Everest in the hope that Mount Everest would disappear. If someone in real life, and this parable of punching Mount Everest was given by Near here, he's a YouTuber from Britain and one of the supporters of my channel since a very long time. That parable of punching Mount Everest, if someone in real life would tell you that they're going to Mount Everest, you would think they're going there to climb Mount Everest. So you might tell them, just beware, some people try to climb Mount Everest and they didn't survive, it's quite cold up there. But then they tell you, I have no interest in climbing Mount Everest, I can't even stand that mountain. But then you ask them, but why are you traveling to Mount Everest then? You're not from Himalaya, you have no business being there. And tell you, I can stand a mountain, I'm going to teach a mountain a lesson. Then you think, what? You're going to teach Mount Everest a lesson? Yeah, I'm going to punch that. Then they cuss a lot. They use a lot of swear words. They are very upset. And you look at them, very shocked, thinking, what is this? Does this individual realize that with your fragile, mortal body, you cannot move a physical mountain, especially Mount Everest? And how do you want to move it? By knocking it away or knocking it down? Anyone like that would be arrested and placed in a mental asylum because he needs serious help. Well, that's how the reprobate is. With exception that the reprobate is not someone that needs help, the reprobate is a dangerous entity that ought to be avoided. They want to blackmail everyone, everywhere in their self-pity, in their self-victimization, in their state of anxiety, in their rage, in their bitterness, because the reprobate is bitter all the time. And they want to escape the consequences of this bitterness by dumping the bitterness on everyone else around them. That's the reprobate. But they can't do that with the Most High. And let's go further. When Christ returns, he will resurrect everyone that passed away, including the reprobates that passed away. And the reprobates will have to face him. And the reprobates will remain alive forever. But because they love death, because at least in their mind, when they're dead, they don't have to take responsibility. Because they love death, they are very upset that the Most High resurrects them. But here's the thing. This is God's universe. He owns heaven and earth. He will not allow a reprobate creature to blackmail him into tolerating destruction and harm on all his creatures. And he especially not will put up with those same creatures thinking they have the right to harm his followers because they're too cowards to face themselves. So what's going to happen? The reprobate at the resurrection, they'll be in an explosive, inflamed state of rage permanently, so the Most High will relocate them to the lake of fire, where that rage will manifest forever. They will still be alive, not able to die, because they have immortal bodies, and they will experience their own rejection forever, while the rest of heaven and earth is protected and guarded against the rejection. Because God's will be done on earth as is in heaven. God operates in absolute joy. Not pleasure, not happiness, joy. God operates in absolute joy, and absolute joy is His will for the earth, and that will come. What's hindering that manifestation of absolute joy now? It's a reprobate, assisted by evil spirits, who are also reprobate entities. But that will soon be dealt with permanently, and God's joy will be experienced throughout eternity by those that are born again. Listen, reprobates do not want you to be joyful. They don't even want you to enjoy anything. Reprobates want you to be miserable like they are, so they are relieved. They are self-destructive terrorists. That's what they are. See them for what they are. But worse than reprobates are common people who put up with them because they are too cowards to face themselves. Common people are not reprobates, but they enable reprobates. At least with a reprobate, you know you're dealing with a complete deranged entity. But with common people, you're not dealing with a commoner, you're not dealing with a completely deranged entity, but you're dealing with an enabler of nature. That's why common people are on their way to reprobation too. Unless they become born again. Every sinner either turns to a reprobate or they're born again. It's one of the two. Well, now you know why the world hates Christ and why the reprobate can't stand Him. Now you know, believer, why there are times you enter a place. You didn't even say something, but people already hate you. Because the absolute joy you're walking in, they can't stand it because they can't control it. They can't trick you into sadness. They can't trick you into self-hatred. They can't trick you into tragedy, into harm. They can't victimize nor violate you when you walk in the strength of Christ. So they want you without any protection so that they can victimize you whenever they want. It's all about them being relieved. That's the reprobate, and that's why they hate Christ, because Christ does not honor their self-destruction. Christ does not honor their negative will. Christ goes against their negative will, and Christ doesn't recognize their quote-unquote rights to be negative, which they never had and never will have. This whole thing of free will is just a concept designed by demons to give reprobates an excuse to be evil. God will not put up with this. His will shall be done on earth as it is in heaven, not the reprobate's will. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ, keep agreeing with Him, then you'll be at peace.